Welcome to the KBB Review podcast. My name is Andy Davies. This is episode 2 of season 13, and we've got a great one for you today as we look into the world of distribution with one of the biggest names in the sector, Waterline. We have a great interview with Michael Marriott, who's the new CEO, and in contrast to that, we've got sales director Rob Taylor, who's chalked up an astonishing 39 years with the company. Waterline is, of course, owned by Crown Imperial, and Michael is the grandson of the founder. That continues the lineage of the family-run business. His brother, Barry Head, is the current MD of Crown. Now, distribution is really interesting. There are huge changes happening in that bit of the KBB industry with consolidation, buyouts, big names calling in the administrators, as well, of course, as big brands who always relied on distributors, they're starting to go direct. And the end result is that margins are getting tighter and tighter across the chain. So against this backdrop, Waterline has just launched its first ever bathroom range, which is an ambitious move into what is obviously a very crowded market. So why have they done it? What do they think about the direction of distribution in general? How does a new CEO get under the skin of such a well-established company? And of course, what do they think about independent retail in general? It's all coming up in this episode, but first, the KBB Review Retail and Design Awards 2025 is now open for entries. It's our 31st year, and as always, if you're a kitchen or bathroom retailer, designer, installer or supplier, we have categories for you. It's totally free to enter, so what have you got to lose? And the closing date is Thursday, November the 14th. That's Thursday, November the 14th, and there will be no extensions. Everything you need to know is at kbbreview.com/awards. That's kbbreview.com/awards. I can't wait to see your entries. Okay, so here is Michael and Rob from Waterline. And in fact, we are at Waterline. Thank you for your hospitality, gentlemen. This is always a fantastic facility to come and see. And it's an amazing facility, actually, for customers to come and see as well. It must be expensive to do, but, I mean, Rob, it must be fantastic for you to be able to bring people in.
Yeah, we've had this building here now for about 20 years. And I would say to you that I've visited most kitchen businesses in the UK. And this place is not replicated. And we use it for lots of different things. We use it for the sales force to bring retailers here that may be new retailers or existing retailers to either look at product or to be trained on product. But more and more now, because a lot of kitchen studios are relatively small, they can't display the amount of product that we have here. And we have something like 80 room sets here. And this is the biggest that I've ever seen in the UK. And more we see retailers now sending consumers here. And why wouldn't you? Because if you've got somebody that wants to see, as opposed to choosing a kitchen from a door sample and wants to see a real life display of it, then this is an absolutely fabulous venue for them to be able to do it. And when you think about us as an organisation now, we're very unique in the fact that we sell kitchen furniture and then we happen to sell everything else that you need to go alongside it. Sinks, taps, appliances, work surfaces, everything you need. And you can see all of that in one place. We've relaunched our blue book in a hard copy format. And
I love the fact, Rob, you've gone straight into sales mode there.
It's what I do.
I know, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. And you're right, you've been doing this a very long time. What makes it such an interesting dynamic here is, obviously, Michael, you've been with the company quite a while, but you're in a very new role. You're the new CEO of it, and obviously you're part of the family.
That's right,
the dynasty of Waterline. But Rob, you've literally been here, since they invented kitchens.
Day one. I'm 39 years in, Andrew.
I mean, since the cavemen gathered around the fire, you were there trying to flog them a tap. I think that's how it works, isn't it?
That's me.
So look, so it's a brilliant contrast. So let's start with you, Michael, because you're the new CEO, relatively new. Just give us an idea of where you sit in the dynastic family tree of this place.
So, to do that, I'd have to take you all the way back to 1946 when the business was founded. So Crown, the manufacturing business, was founded by my grandfather. My father, Michael Head, he then took it, from strength to strength, and I think he's the one who was probably most known for Crown. My brother, Barry Head, now is the managing director and runs Crown on a day-to-day basis as well. I, as his half-brother, I now am the CEO of Waterline, and I'm very happy to be here, kind of still learning a lot, and I think still getting used to the industry of retail. I was chuckling as we mentioned the Blue Book because I came in, and I do strongly believe there's a lot of innovation and changes that the industry needs and all of that, and one of the first things we've done is we've brought back a printed catalogue. So, I've had to, you mentioned me and Rob, and I think what I've definitely had to learn is there's a whole load of interesting different parts and corners of this industry, and what we need to do is not not run over ourselves to put in innovations that frankly no one actually wants. So we spend a lot of time speaking to customers. I listen to Rob all the time, and it's something like catalog, it was really called for, hence bringing it back.
And it's really important to listen to your customers. And there's so many businesses out there that don't.
Yeah.
And I absolutely lead with my chin, Andrew. Everybody that is a customer, they all have the ability to be able to call me and ring me up and talk to me. And I say to people, and I know it sounds a bit cheesy, when I leave a meeting sometimes I'll say to people, if we ever do anything that upsets you, it'll probably upset me. So you're more than welcome to give me a ring. And we run our business like that. And the combination of Michael and I, we're very different people, not just physically, but we come from very different backgrounds, but we think exactly the same. So Michael coming into the business, and I always forget the answer to this, but it's about 3 years ago now, Michael, isn't it?
3 years, 3.5.
And those 3 years have gone so quickly, but the impact that has had on the organisation and the way that we're going forward at a real pace now, when the market is in a really challenging state, is really great. We've had and I'm not going into selling mode here again, Andrew, but we've had a sales meeting this week with our sales team. We got 16 people out on the road, and literally you had to peel them off the ceiling when they left that room because of all the good things that we'd given to them in one day. When most businesses are all about doom and challenges and people taking sales forces off the road, and we absolutely believe in what we're doing here and now.
Let's step back a bit, because you're relatively new to it, Michael, but obviously you've grown up with this as a family thing. I mean, it's not like you're completely new to it, but you went off and did other things. I mean, you were overseas, weren't you? Give us an idea of that background.
Yeah, so after I graduated from university, I spent 4 or 5 years living in Hong Kong. I was working for a large conglomerate, basically as a management trainee, with the idea that they would airdrop us into various companies. Most of them would be in more traditional industries, to then look at A, them being run efficiently, and then B, making sure that, again, we were keeping up with the times with innovation and keeping the businesses up to date. So it was a skill set that I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed my time there. I came back during COVID and found myself, funnily enough, in one of the more traditional industries and looking at exactly the same thing. So it's definitely the skills that I learned out in Hong Kong and in Asia are definitely applicable back here.
Okay, well, we'll touch on that in a minute, what kind of lessons you brought in, but I think it might be worth stepping back a bit. Clearly everyone knows Waterline, and clearly everyone knows Crown. They might not really understand and appreciate the scale of it. Can you give us some sort of scale of it, Rob, just how big this organisation actually is?
I think we have little strap lines that we talk about with the business, that we've become the biggest at supplying the independent kitchen specialist in the UK. And we will, on an average month, we'll deal with around 3,500 businesses in this country that will buy something from us. And it could be a Franca sink, or it could be a complete kitchen, including a suite of hire appliances and work surfaces and everything else. And when you look at the Blue Book, Michael has a great little phrase that every kitchen business, when they open in this country, the first thing they should do is open an account with Waterline. And he's 100% right.
And then subscribe to kbbreview.
Review. You can't go wrong if you do that. You've got the two things there. They're the two best ingredients for starting a business in the UK.
Exactly.
So there you go. And I think that we have something for everybody. And I could be in a plumber's merchant selling a sink to somebody for £50, or I could be in Wigmore Street selling a Fisher and Paykel fridge for £8,500, and then anything that sits in between there.
So how many trucks have you got on the road at any one time?
Do you want me to lie or tell the truth?
Tell the truth.
All right, okay.
Don't go into sales mode, in other words.
Okay. We have about 40 trucks that we have, and they're all varying different sizes because, again, over the years, we've had to adapt, and we're trying to make it as lean as possible for a lot of these retailers that we deal with. So more and more now, we're delivering to end consumers on behalf of the retailer. So I say to retailers sometimes, you don't need a warehouse. We're your warehouse. You don't need a truck that sits there idle for 5 days a week. We'll be your truck. We'll deliver. And more of those services are setting us apart from other businesses. And we've even got now with two-man deliveries where we're taking things into the kitchen and putting it in the kitchen. So we're just about offering service to people. And that is the challenge for the sales force. And the long answer to your scale question is that would make a massive scale to us. Is they've all gone away with 120 blue books this week. And I know in 2 weeks' time they're going to want more each. So Michael will do the maths because he's quite an intelligent guy. So 16 times 120. So with all of those presentations, if there's something else that retailer decides that he's going to buy from Waterline, that makes a big difference difference to scale, doesn't it?
Absolutely does.
So, Michael, 16 times 120, go.
1,920.
Oh, man, that's good, isn't it? I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I'm right. Don't check.
Okay, so look, you've got two worlds colliding here in the best possible way. You've got an old school business, big family business. You've got someone like Rob who understands the intricacies of the customer, understands the intricacies of how the sales process works. You've got, I don't know, 1,000 million SKUs in a warehouse somewhere. And then you're coming in with a completely new perspective of a kind of big corporate management training type vision. Yeah. So what's your view when you first come in here to do this? It'd be very easy to come in with lots of sweeping changes, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, so you're absolutely right. The first thing I did, A, when I joined, and B, when I took the CEO role on, was nothing. Right? I think I'm a big believer that no external person should go into any business, any role, and just start making changes left, right, and centre, because you need to understand the market, understand the customers. So I spent most of this year actually really just speaking to customers, understanding how they work, going to visit some of them in their showrooms, and I think, one of the big takeaways that I've had is Rob's absolutely right. We serve thousands of customers every year, from some people who will look for us for a single appliance or a single sink and tap, to some people who will genuinely plant their flag with us and buy everything for a kitchen with us. So what I think we've really been looking at is how to give those different types of retailer the very best service that we can. Right, for the guy who's just buying another appliance here or there, really what he wants to see is how cheap is it? When can we get it? What stock do we have? He wants to see that information as quickly as possible. Somebody who, as Rob's alluded to, they won't even touch product really until it gets into the home. We will deliver everything straight there for them. We're there, I think, really getting as close to a partnership as you can pretty much get. And I think there we have to look at actually how can we grow with them, because the best way for us to grow our business is actually just to help them sell more.
But equally, by the nature of distribution, it is a logistical business. It is. Right? And so you are dealing with volumes, you're dealing with the amount of products you have and how many you have and where they've got to go. And there's a sort of science behind the logistics level of it. And so I guess part of the job is also constantly looking for efficiencies and, and making that process much easier as well. Obviously, you have the customer service element of it. But for you to make your margin, that's got to be ruthlessly efficient, hasn't it? And how much have you got into the nuts and bolts of that?
I am quite a numbers person, so I say quite heavily. I mean, it's something where we look at nowadays, how many goods do we need to be putting on a single truck to justify the sending of that truck, for example? I mean, it's moving boxes, but it's also how many delivery days for a retailer. So that's something that we're really looking at. It's something I want to improve, but to do so, you need to put more goods on trucks. So when we're looking for efficiencies, it's always about trying to remove any wasted motion that there could possibly be. So we have 3 depots, for example. So one of the questions might be, in the past, you could have taken all goods into Milton Keynes and then broken them out, sent them to our Bolton, our Bristol depots. Or maybe in the future, we'll get them delivered straight to Bolton, straight to Bristol, straight to Milton Keynes. That saves time, saves money. There's lots of little things like that as we're looking to tweak and improve upon our systems, it does make a massive difference. And I'd also say that whilst everyone likes to make profit, we're not different in that sense. Us making more money, saving more margin, it then allows for investment back into other levels of service as well. So it's always a numbers game, and it's always looking to trim any fat.
And that's pretty much what we do. Yes, you're right. I like to think of us as a kitchen company, but we're not. We move a box from A to B, and we try and do it in an efficient manner that suits the customer and suits us. And I know that's quite a simple thing to say, but we do have a really good team of people that think about that moving a box from A to B and the most efficient manner of doing it. We looked at the longevity of the staff that work at Waterline, and I can't remember the exact number, but
42. We had 42 people who had 20 or more years of service.
Wow. Yeah.
I think that's something that we're really proud of, because I think, again, as Waterline, as a business, we have absolutely pinned our service levels and our structure and the way we work on the independent kitchen retailer market. So everyone there who has 20 plus years service, they have 20 plus years service, knowing kitchen retailers, knowing how they work. Even our credit control team, our retail sales team, our logistics team, they know our retailers by name, personally, and their business name, how they work. So whenever we're looking at making changes, we'll have our head of logistics piping up saying, that's not going to work for XYZ because they work this way. It actually gives us a far more intimate knowledge of their business. So again, we're not just making these kind of rush changes that don't suit them.
The irony is, of course, there's so much work goes into the logistical element of it, because, of course, it's not just the products you're sending out, it's all the stuff you're bringing that's coming in at the other end as well. Yeah. That's the bit the retailer couldn't care less about, if you know what I mean.
And nor should he.
No. Yeah. And it's like, I don't really care about that as long as you deliver my cooker on time, right? And it's really interesting, the dynamic of that, I think.
I'd say they don't care about it until we do it wrong. They care very much. So.
We have a really nice head office in Milton Keynes, and I'm very proud of the building. building. We built it in 2000. We bought a piece of land and we built it. And I remember taking a customer there about a year after we built it. And I showed him around what was a distribution centre that was so advanced for our industry. And we had a little restaurant in it, which we called our bistro. And I sat him down and I had a bit of lunch with him. And afterwards he said to me, he said, "Do you know what? I don't care if you keep the stuff in a field with a tarpaulin over the top. As long as your price is right, as long as you get it to me in the state that I want it to be, then that's all I'm interested in."
Yeah.
And you're right. But when you think about what we do, our head office in Milton Keynes, that operates 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. So in the dead of night, people are picking orders that will turn up at a kitchen retailer's the next day. But they don't know that, and they don't need to know that, because that's us trying to be as efficient as we possibly can.
Yeah, and as you say, that's good they don't know about it, because that means it hasn't gone wrong, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
All right, so look, we know at the moment that, as you said, Rob, the market's difficult at the moment. It's hard work, right? And I think as distributor and a size of distributor that you are, it's a real bellwether, because you're literally seeing the orders coming in. So let's start with you, Michael. What is your current interpretation of what the market is doing at the moment?
For starters, I think the market is undeniable. It's down, and I think it's down. It varies where you are, but in some cases, double digits, probably heavy double digits, I would say. What I think is quite interesting is that, as always with our industry, it's not down, it's not even across the whole market. So I think there are some people who we've spoken to who actually have full order books and they're still doing well. There's a few areas of the market that are actually up even, and I think probably where I think it's been hit the hardest is actually going to be the middle priced kitchen. Lower end kitchen is hard, definitely, but I think it's also something that, with credit and payment terms and all of that, the initial outlay of cash isn't as prohibitive as it is for other ends of the market. The very top end of the market, money is sometimes no object at all, so it doesn't really make a difference. It's the middle end, the middle class, I would say, that have really struggled to justify purchasing a new kitchen. And then when they have been purchasing a new kitchen, they've maybe been down-speccing slightly, which reduces their spend. And I think that's where we've seen people struggle a little bit more. So I think in terms of who in that middle market is doing rather well, it's maybe the more established retailers who have that local reputation. I think the ones who are a bit newer to the market, we've also seen them struggle to bring in new customers, to take the risk on a new retailer for a middle-priced kitchen.
Rob, you've seen these things come and go over the years. How does this compare to previous downturns or previous difficult markets?
I would say, Andrew, that I think it is the most challenging market that I've ever worked in.
Wow.
Is what I think. We are an absolute barometer for the kitchen industry because we supply so many people. But in every challenge, there's an opportunity, isn't there? I go back to the Blue Book again. It's known as, people call it the industry Bible, and I'm very proud of
After
that.
KBBreview, obviously.
After KBBreview, obviously, Andrew. But there's 475 pages in our latest edition of the Blue Book. But it is us investing in people in what is a really challenging and difficult time. And then additionally to that is that we deal with all of these businesses in the UK, and depending on where I'm standing in the country, quite simply, if I walk through the front door of a kitchen and bathroom business, then I reckon that 80% of the people that we deal with in the UK are kitchen and bathroom retailers. Well, it's taken us 39 years to get round to the fact that actually we should sell some bathroom products. Now, we've been really sensible about our thinking and our approach to this and our message to retailers, because I've gone out and have a chat with a few of my mates that sell bathrooms, and they all want to help us because they feel part of our little family, which is the world of Waterline. And I've listened, and Michael's listened, and Michael's come and seen some of them with me as well. And we've taken good, better, best in terms of ends of the market that people operate. So we brought out a range of bathroom products that includes furniture, includes sanitary ware, but the real appeal to the retailer is that it will be Waterline and it will be unbranded. So it will be known as Waterline bathrooms. And the bit that will really get their attention is the fact that we won't trade with anybody online with this product. I know the kitchen industry like the back of my hand, and why wouldn't I? But if I say to a kitchen specialist, name me the 5 biggest problems in your business, one of them will be the appliances being purchased online, and make no money out of appliances. And I get all of that, but I've been told that if you ask a bathroom retailer, name me the biggest problem in your business, it's people purchasing stuff online. So we're trying to give people an offer in that when they put it in a quotation, that people can't go and search for it online. So we're about bricks and mortar and about investing in them. And then I like to describe Waterline as a comfy old pair of shoes. We've been reliable, and there's plenty of people around that you can pick up the phone to when things go wrong, because things do go wrong with kitchens. But if you like the driver, you like your RSM, you like the credit controller that you deal with, one of these members of staff that have worked for us for over 20 years, well, then you're already there, aren't you? The sales force now, some of them are experienced in selling bathrooms because they've sold them before, and now going out and seeing some of those people and presented to them. Why it's taken us 39 years to get round to it, Michael? I don't know.
Like Waterline.
Yeah.
So
it's in the name, isn't it?
It is, but so Michael, is this about you leveraging, terrible word that lots of business people use, leveraging your size and influence to kind of stimulate the market a little bit, both for yourself and for your retailers, by introducing something brand new that you can talk about?
To a degree, yes. I'd say when we're bringing in a new product, I always think you don't want to just bring out a product that's matches exactly something that's already out there, because that's boring and it doesn't actually change that much in the market. I think what we have found, if we start with our kitchen products, is that there's a real gap in the market, in the range of products that are available to a retailer for something that, as Rob says, isn't sold online and either doesn't have a B2C brand, or it maybe has one that isn't really pushed as much as you see some of these brands being pushed with media and advertisements nowadays. The reason I think there's a gap for that is when a retailer sells something, they sell, as we were talking about earlier, they start with furniture. Somebody goes into a retailer showroom and they're looking for a sort of furniture that matches the look of what they want. And then they buy everything else from that same person. So once you sold the furniture, you are going to sell the worktop. You are going to sell the appliances. So actually, I think what people really need is they need an appliance or something that A, is protected from somebody, quickly Googling it, seeing how cheaply they can get it elsewhere. And B, gives them a margin that reflects the work that they've done to shift the product. Because actually, we're not the ones selling our appliances. We won't be the ones selling our bathrooms. It's the retailers who will be selling our bathrooms. They're the ones who are actually going to be achieving the sales. So what we've done is, through making something that isn't sold online, it is really protected for retailers. And it allows them, and it's a product that I think for once in the first time in a long time, actually really is made and fits their selling process. Not something that is also sold on websites and all over the place that, they might as well also sell because they don't have many other options.
You're going into a very, very competitive market.
We understand that.
And there's a lot of brands out there. And I'm sure if I sat in front of a lot of them, they would all say that they have ranges that don't go online. And to launch yourself into that, not a gamble's the wrong word, but it's going to be hard because it is so incredibly competitive to break into a market where there's so much product available.
I completely agree. And I think, and maybe this is the cynic of me, and I think it's maybe a tad controversial, but I know it's not the first time it's been spoken about, so I'm going to claim it's someone else's fault. But I would say to that, how many end consumers really care about the difference in spec between, could be a basin to another basin, could be an oven to another oven. It's not kitchen or bathroom specific. I don't think they really care. And I think if you sell Joe Blogg's basin A to a retailer and you sell Joe Blogg's basin B to an online business, and then if I go online and I'm not going to type in the spec code, I'm going to type in Joe Blogg's basin and I'll see that I can buy it online from a retailer. And that is to me the big issue, right? I don't think brands are as powerful as they'd like to think they are when it comes to sales that go through a retailer. I think it's the retailer who do the selling, right? And I guess that's to me what our whole pitch is based on. It's the importance of retailers, and it's that fact that they need something that protects their sales.
And that sort of completes the circle, because Michael's right. The retailer, they're a specialist, and people go to a specialist because they want to be guided. They want to be advised about what they should do and how they should do it. And my job as the sales director and the sales team job is to show retailers an opportunity to be able to make some money. And I say it to my guys all the time that if you get an audience with somebody and you introduce something that makes the money, they'll listen to you again because you've been useful to them. And what we're trying to do with bathrooms, we don't want to be the biggest bathroom distributor in the UK. We just want to sell to the existing customer base that we have that actually like Waterline and actually like dealing with us. I understand what you say about we're entering into a challenging market. We know that. But at the same time that we're delivering a kitchen with a worktop, sinks, taps and appliances, and maybe that consumer is having their bathroom done at the same time and really like the retailer that's doing their kitchen, well, we can bolt that onto it.
But you must have made a conscious decision at some point not to just distribute a brand, not to just go into a brand style agreement with somebody. So that must have been a conversation at some point.
If and when this is successful, I don't think we would say no to brands. We are in discussion with some at the moment already. It's not a secret. But I think the main thing is, from our experience with kitchens and from our discussions with the retailers who we have very good relationships with, it all comes down to the fact that why does a retailer purchase the brand or the product that they purchase? I think 9 times out of 10, it's not because of specification differences. It'll be because of service levels and the support that they receive. I think we feel very confident. In fact, I think we spent 39 years perfecting really the service that we give our customers. Not there yet. There's still probably 39 more years of work to do. But if we can get that service right, then I think it probably starts with our own brand, because again, that allows us to, if anything, finalize we can control the after sales. We can control whether or not it's sold online. And then I think we can build on it after the fact.
Well, let's build on that a little bit, because distribution in general has massively changed, even the last 10 years or something, and particularly probably more in the bathroom side than the kitchen side. That's probably because you guys are so dominant with some others. But there's been lots of consolidation. Mm-hmm. There's been some big pre-pack deals, rescue deals and things like that. It's really, really hard work, isn't it, distribution? Yes. So has the role of it changed, Rob? Is it still the same role, but it's just becoming more competitive? What do you think?
I think it's still enormously competitive. There's not the amount of distribution businesses that there were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think the advantage of Waterline is that we're owned by a furniture manufacturer. And sometimes I say to people, you must look at us as a furniture manufacturer that just happens to have 3 warehouses up and down the country full of everything else that you need alongside that kitchen furniture. But the challenges that have been there are, there's ways of running businesses in the correct way and there's ways of running them in the wrong way. And one of the things that we're really proud of as the group is that we work on no borrowings. We own all of our buildings. We have no mortgages. We don't work for Barclays Bank. We are lean in what we do. And another great thing about our organisation, and Michael alluded to this a little bit earlier on, is that when we make some money, the money gets invested back into the business. And that's a really powerful thing. And I think whereas you will get retailers that will say to me, I'd like to buy more from you, Rob, but everything I buy direct. But there's a number of items that we sell that you can't buy direct, that you have to buy through us. And I think the future of our business in bathrooms and in kitchens, well, yes, we'll always represent brands, and yes, we'll always do a very good job for brands, but we will invest more time and energy into our own brand, because at that point it means that we're in complete control of what our destiny is. And, I have a great phrase about certain things that we sell, that you can buy that from anybody you like as long as it's us. And with that in mind, all I want to do is protect a retailer.
What's your overview of distribution in general then, Michael? Because as Rob's alluded to there, it's very competitive amongst distributors, and we've seen plenty of casualties with that in the last few years. But it's also, you're dealing with brands who want to go direct too. So what's your view of it?
I think distribution is and always will be a very low margin business. I mean, you touched on that earlier. I think one of the reasons why our type of distribution, so KBB distribution, has survived for as long as it has done is that it's not necessarily something easy to do, to move these kind of big boxes around the place, often with something that's quite fragile on the inside. That being said, there are businesses out there that are getting to a point where they can do that. Third-party logistics is getting to a point where it's really genuinely impressive. So as a manufacturer, you're then looking at the choices, and where you had used to be that you pretty much had to go through distribution, you now have options to deliver direct to customers yourself. So you're absolutely right with what you said before. Distribution in and of itself, it is about moving boxes. But I think the trend that we've seen over the past 10 years is it has to be more than just moving boxes. If all you're doing is buying in stock and getting it from A to B 3 days a week, that won't be enough to really maintain your business with retailers, and it won't be enough to maintain your business with suppliers. And that's where Rob's point about our investment into the business kind of really becomes key, because what we've been working on over the years is a focus of, for example, keeping people out on the road, having as many sales reps as possible, so that not only we can get the messages out there, but we can provide the retailer the level of support they need. I think it's something that you've touched on in your previous interviews with people. But to us, the overwhelming feeling is that a retailer has so many jobs they need to have an in-person sales rep to really get the level of support they need. Also, it's about working with our suppliers, our manufacturers, to make sure they can get the messages out to the market that they need. They feel like they can train and get and educate their retailers as much as they'd like to. And, in some cases, we actually even have our sales reps go out on the road with representatives from the manufacturers, just because we actually give them that level of connectivity with manufacturers. But when you talk about the idea of distribution changing, to me, that's what it's all about, which is if anyone who's just moving boxes from A to B, that's a dead industry now.
I suppose part of this argument is it's actually the independent retailer argument as well, isn't it? That if you're all you're dealing with is price, if that's all you're interested in, forget it, go away and do something else, because we can't give you the cheapest possible option. We can give you a reasonable price and a good price, but you get all this on top of it as well. And I suppose that's the argument you go to your suppliers with. It's also the argument you go into to retailers with as well. And the complete package is the argument.
Do you know, I have to add something to that. If somebody says to me, I can buy a sink £4 cheaper elsewhere, well, what happens if that goes wrong? Or what if that person hasn't got the stock in the first place? That £4 means nothing, doesn't it? I don't understand why a retailer thinks that saving £4 is a credible solution to what you do. And when I think about our portfolio again, when you look at sinks, taps and appliances, we can cater for everybody's budget, right from the lowest end to the middle and all the straddle points all the way to the top.
I think you're also right. I think especially when you have a new retailer who's trading for themselves for the first time, it's very easy to get stuck into the idea of chasing prices, because when you're a consumer walking through the door, whatever you're going to be spending, it's a lot of money to you. And, you will be focused on price. So it's probably the first thing everyone goes to when they want to compete for that extra sale. But I think the retailers that are the most successful and that stay for the longest, I think what they realize is that they really trade on reputation. Because nowadays, especially, whether it be a bathroom or a kitchen, why do you go to an independent? It's because they are going to give you a complete solution. They will handle the whole project from beginning to end, and they're trusted, right? And that's why, again, from our point of view, we have highlighted very quickly is that it's not necessarily about us offering the cheapest product that's out there in the market. Because if somebody's coming to you looking for the very cheapest product, maybe we have the solution, maybe we don't. But I don't think that's often going to form a very long-term relationship between us and the retailer. What really forms a long-term relationship is if we give them the best level of service and if we enable them to offer the best level of service to the end consumer. That is really what we've kind of pinpointed as the important differentiating factor.
The clock's beating us a little bit here, chaps. But let's round this up a little bit with you, Michael, because obviously you're in this new role. And when you first came into this role, you talked about modernisation, and we've talked a little bit about changing. Give it 5 years. But what's your view of what this business will be in 5 years with you in charge?
Well, that's a good question. I would say I think it's all going to be about. I'm not going to too much about. I have a really bad habit internally using the word technically, because I think a lot of stuff should technically be possible, but then I ask somebody else and they'll actually is 2-3 years away. But what I would like us to get to as a business is a point where we're making changes and bringing out new services, new abilities that are saving retailers kind of material amounts of time. Whether that be, as Rob said, us taking not just curbside dropping products, but actually taking it into the home and unpackaging it, whether it be the remedial process, us allowing them when they're on site to submit remedial requests so that they don't have to go back to their computer and type it in. Realize they've got to take the right photo, go back to site. They can be there on site with their phone submitting the tickets so they can get after sales sorted that way. Whether it be live tracking of deliveries that are white labeled. So when somebody gets their kitchen delivered to their house, it's coming from Joe Block's Kitchens, and it kind of adds to that level of service. All these things are small incremental factors that allow us to improve upon the service that we allow retailers to offer to the end consumer. And I think that is really where the next 5 years are going to be focused.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to watch it as an observer as well. So, look, thank you so much for your time, James. Thanks so much for your hospitality here. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Michael.